I cannot believe what I've just seen, man. That has to be one of the craziest World Cup knockout games I've ever seen. Ronaldo against Modric, one of those players probably playing their last international game, and it absolutely delivered. That was absolutely insane. But welcome back to the World Cup recap. Day 22 of the tournament. We're over the halfway point of these round of 32 games. We're starting to really see some of these matchups heading into the next round take shape. But still, just plenty more action from today. It was absolutely wild. Before we get to the main event, we'll start off with the first game of the day between Spain and Austria. As of now, Spain haven't really taken that big stride in this tournament like we kind of expected them to at this point. Their group stage performance was alright. Besides the 4-0 drubbing against Saudi Arabia, they could only muster one goal between their matches against Cape Verde and Uruguay. A large part of that being the fact that this isn't exactly the same Spain team that we saw in 2024, particularly from their wing play, with obviously Lamine Yamal not being at 100% in this tournament, Nico Williams as well. We haven't seen that explosive attack that was once the backbone of the Spain team in years past. But the thing is with Spain is that they're so well-rounded as a team, and they still have so many great attacking options. Mikel Oyarzabal, we saw him step up against Saudi Arabia, that can easily go out and win games. And that was honestly what was kind of expected once again heading into this game against Austria. A team that just by the skin of their teeth got to this knockout stage with that crazy game against Algeria, them scoring that late goal to get them to this matchup. Unfortunately, unlike Algeria, who got a slightly lesser opponent in this first round, Austria went for the big guns straight away. Unfortunately for them, their style just got completely negated. As effective as that style has really been for them, against a Spain team that possesses so much control of the ball and so much control of a game, really, and with all the threats that they have all around the pitch from midfield to attack, there's really no other way to contain them. And Spain, with how precise they are, didn't really find too much difficulty in breaking down Austria throughout this entire game. They obviously had the opportunity early on to take a 1-0 lead with Marc Cucurella, with Pau Cubarsí getting tangled up with Schlager in net. That obviously disallowed a bit of a softer one, I could say. I think there is a genuine case to maybe overturn that, but the fact that it was called a no goal immediately pretty much negated that. Again, it would have taken something completely out of the question for it to go the other way, but regardless, it did not have an effect on Spain. Just a few minutes later, Cucurella once again on the left, playing it inside. Mikel Oyarzabal, he's there once again. He put Spain up 1-0 in the first half. And once again, no matter what Austria did throughout this game, they just did not have an answer for Spain, man. Spain was doing what they're doing. They controlled those games well. They don't create too many chances. They're just extremely clinical. And again, it doesn't even have to come from their forward play. Even guys at the back making contributions, with Pedro Porro swooping it in the box to put them up 2-0. Again, all of that has been generated from Spain's left side. Marc Cucurella once again playing through Baena, played through Porro. Again, just pristine play from. That's the sort of Spanish football you come to expect from them, especially when it works. That's the thing with Spain. When they get things going, where they're not just passing around for no reason, they could just tear teams apart, man. It is insane. And then obviously to top things off, Mikel Oyarzabal, he's done it again. His fourth goal of the tournament, second assist on the day for Cucurella. Spain cruising to the 3-0 win. Easy pass to the next round. Oyarzabal once again, standout performance from him. It's crazy to think that a couple of years ago, Spain had this huge thing about they didn't have a star striker. They were still playing Alvaro Morata. Everyone was like, they gotta get someone else. Oyarzabal has been the absolute answer for that, man. He's a guy that may not seem like your sort of traditional striker. For a lot of his career, he's been playing on the wing, but his work in those central areas, his ability to find those pockets of space, and just his finishing ability. He is a great finisher of the ball, and he's proven it already in this tournament. Just 4 games in, he's got 4 goals. And it wasn't always plain sailing, obviously. Remember back to the first game where he didn't have a touch of the ball in the first 30 minutes. Now, all of a sudden, he is leading this team so far in a way that I don't think a lot of people expected coming into this tournament. And obviously that he's been their main goal threat, not so much Lamine Yamal. On the topic of Lamine Yamal, this was easily his best performance at a World Cup today. Obviously a shame for him that he didn't manage to get either a goal or an assist, but you saw so many times in that game. He was making those same moves that we saw him obviously throughout the years at Barcelona, even in his other times playing for Spain. Again, still working back from that injury. He said, I think himself, that he's around 80%. I mean, 80% Lamine Yamal, you probably take that, especially at a World Cup as well. Things are only going to get tougher for this Spain team, obviously, with their next opponents as well. But regardless, Yamal showed a lot of danger today. Austria tried to stick Konrad Laimer on him, their probably most proven defender, and that still didn't really have a good impact on Yamal's production. Still not sure why he was named man of the match, though. That was a little bit questionable considering the performances again that we saw from the likes of Oyarzabal and especially Marc Cucurella. He was absolutely incredible. He could not be stopped on that left-hand side. Again, with Laimer switching over to left back. Again, with Laimer switching to left back, it left Stefan Posch trying to cover Cucurella, and it just didn't fare well, man. Cucurella was absolutely fine. He could have had 3 assists, a goal. Like, he was just incredible, man. There's a reason why Real Madrid paid the big bucks for this guy, because he is easily one of the best left backs in the world, probably in the top 3 in that position. Now, I say all this to say that even though this was a great performance from Spain, I still don't think this is the best version that we're going to see from them. I do trust that Spain will level things up, especially when they play harder competition starting literally in the next game. I don't know whether it's that Lamine Yamal hasn't been at his best, or even guys like Rodri and Pedri haven't been super standout guys. Whatever it is, I feel like Spain just still have another level to reach. And I don't know whether to think that it's a scary sight in the fact that Spain are already playing at this level right now. They've gone 4 games without conceding. They haven't lost any game. And this was easily their best performance yet, which is a great thing to take into the next rounds. But at the same time, it's like, will they get there? Will they step up? Will Lamine Yamal finally turn the tide against Portugal, a team that he struggled with in the past? Same goes for the likes of Pedri and Rodri. Are those guys going to be the game changers in midfield that they've set out to be? Will Oyarzabal keep scoring goals like the way he is right now? There's still a lot of questions I have with the Spain team that hopefully will be answered as the next couple of rounds go on, assuming they can go that far. Otherwise, find out the answers pretty soon. But aside from that, again, great performance from Spain, just dominating the Austrians here. And that's the thing with Austria, is that as much as their style and their system can get them far against their usual opponents or opponents that they're better at, when it comes to opponents like Spain who just have endless and endless amounts of talent, just in general, when they play a team that is more talented than them and has a style that can easily just negate what they do, that's where they really tend to struggle at. So I think that's just the next level for Austria, which is just get more talent. That's really all it comes down to. Austria is a team that has a lot of good players, a lot of players that play good roles, but no real game changers. Spain has plenty of those in a lot of different spots in the field, and we saw all of that on display today. All right, now on to the main event of the night. One of the craziest World Cup knockout games I think I've ever seen. Portugal against Croatia. To set the stage for all of this, Cristiano Ronaldo and Luka Modric, former and longtime teammates at Real Madrid, won 4 Champions Leagues together. Both of them obviously having major successes in their international careers. Ronaldo leading Portugal to a Euros win and multiple Nations League wins. Luka Modric carrying his country to back-to-back semifinals and a final in 2018. Both guys have combined for over 400 appearances for their country, but unfortunately, one of their international careers would have ended tonight. With both guys being in their 40s, this was their last dance. And what a treat this was, especially being in the city where I live in. This was just insane, man. The energy from the build up to this game, and obviously even what took place afterwards, I've never seen anything like it, man. This city's had some crazy sports moments over the last couple of years, right? From obviously the Blue Jays just recently with the World Series, the Toronto Raptors winning the NBA championship. But this spectacle, this was just on another level, man. The waves of people outside of the Portugal training grounds, the Portugal team hotels, the highways trying to get a glimpse of the Portugal team bus. I wish I obviously could have been there to witness all of that stuff go down, but seen a lot of that stuff as well. I just wanted to mention that before the lead up to this game, because I think it just adds to how insane all of this was. And the fact that, again, this took place in Toronto of all places. Toronto hosting a game like this. I never ever could have imagined. So if you told me 10 years ago that Cristiano Ronaldo and Luka Modric would be playing a World Cup knockout game in Toronto, no way I would have believed you. Absolutely no way. But it happened. So let's talk about it. Both teams are coming off a pretty disappointing group stage for their standards, at least. Croatia did get back-to-back wins against Ghana and Panama, but a 4-2 loss against England probably didn't sit too well. And likewise for Portugal, they also came second in this group, failing to beat the likes of Colombia and DR Congo. And again, a lot of pressure mounting up against this team. People trying to figure out what the problem is, whether it's the man up top or the man in the midfield. Regardless, this was a game where hopefully they could turn some of those questions into affirmative answers. And honestly, I don't think they did that. Not at all. Portugal looked awful at the start of the second half. Croatia was running rings all over them. It's like they were just inviting them to get chances, inviting them to attack, and eventually they got bit for it. With Stanisic crossing it in and Croatia's veteran putting the ball in the back of the net. No, not Luka Modric, but his running man, Ivan Perisic, who since the second game of this tournament has been a mainstay for this Croatia team, playing left back. He has replaced Josko Vardiol at that position, and clearly it seemed to work. Croatia just coming out firing in that second half, take the lead in Toronto. Even after that goal went in, Croatia were still absolutely pushing Portugal to the brink, almost making it 2. From there, Portugal started to get things a little bit back in order. Rafael Leao had an unbelievable chance off the crossbar. And then from there, obviously, Roberto Martinez decided to be a little bit bold by making 4 subs all at once. I don't think I've seen something like that at this tournament yet. 4 subs at once, down 1-0. He was really going for it. Conceição, Bernardo Silva, Nelson Semedo, and Gonzalo Ramos came on. To this point, Ronaldo was obviously still on the pitch, so it was Ramos and Ronaldo both together up front, I guess. But a few minutes later, Portugal would get a bit of a lifeline, with Renato Veiga getting taken down in the box, Portugal getting a penalty, and Cristiano Ronaldo, with the ball in his hands, finally has a chance to break his duck and score his first ever World Cup knockout goal. And he makes absolutely no mistake. In fact, he put it pretty much in the middle. Risky play, but it's Cristiano Ronaldo. What can you tell him? He slots it past Livakovic. Over 40,000 do the celebration with him. And just like that, it's all squared at 1. But unfortunately, that would pretty much be the end of Ronaldo. Around 10 minutes later, Roberto Martinez, for the first time in this tournament, subbed Ronnie off. He had played every minute of the World Cup to this point, but that was going to be the end of that. Subbing him off for Ruben Neves, which I think was pretty weird. I guess Portugal were kind of set on things going to extra time. Both teams kind of were considering. Croatia brought on Josko Gvardiol as well. But fortunately, somehow this would all tend to pay off for Martinez, as Gonzalo Ramos, now the main man up top, he becomes the hero for Portugal, just like he was 4 years ago when he stepped up and scored a hat-trick against Switzerland. He gets a brilliant ball from Rafael Leao, and in the 93rd minute, Ramos puts the dagger in Croatia. Portugal lead 2-1 with minutes to play. This is where I also just want to point out that Toronto in this tournament, this was obviously the last game that they were hosting, they've produced 3 90th minute winners. From Gonzalo Ramos today, Denis Undav against Cote d'Ivoire, and Urenki against Panama. 3 90th minute winners. I don't think any stadium's going to top that. That's one thing that I think Toronto Stadium can easily take away from this, is that they have produced so many of the clutch moments of this World Cup. Then none more greater, obviously, than Gonzalo Ramos putting Portugal ahead in this one. However, we weren't done yet with clutch moments, because Croatia, still again, with plenty of time to play. In fact, a little bit too much time, I would say. Originally, there was 10 minutes given for the added time, even with Portugal scoring and whatnot. There was like another 2 to 3 minutes in that. I get that there was a couple of substitutions, but still, I feel like there was a little bit more added time than there needed to be. But regardless, Croatia didn't care. They had the opportunity to get things back in order, and Josko Gvardiol on the end of it produced it. Croatia in the dying seconds scoring the equalizer. Everyone goes nuts. Can't believe what we're seeing. All of a sudden, this game, it's going to go extra time. It's going to go all that. But once again, VAR. Everyone's favorite or least favorite words, depending on what side you are in. In this case for Croatia, it did not play to their benefit. Pasalic being in an offside position, as Mantanovic, it must have been like this. I don't even know, man. Well, I'll get into it a little bit after, but it was like millimeters of a touch. It puts him offside, and after minutes and minutes of deliberation, we're into like almost 20 minutes of stoppage time at this point, the goal is ruled out. Like Iran from last week, Croatia go from absolute pandemonium, thinking their World Cup has been saved, they've been given a lifeline, and then VAR just takes it away from them and sends them packing out of the World Cup. Now, once again, like every single time, just VAR controversy once again takes hold of center stage. And like, I don't even know what to make of this one, in all honesty. I mean, I've seen so many different opinions, whether it's, you know, the technology being into play. Obviously, I think I've talked about this briefly before with FIFA having the chip in the ball to detect if a player's touched it, if it's a touch or not. And obviously, in this case, it detected that slight touch from Mantanovic to put Pasalic offside. So on one hand, it's like clear and obvious. If he touches the ball, He's in an offside position. That goal cannot be given. Even with Vega also touching the ball in this case, which was also picked up by the censor, that wouldn't have necessarily mattered unless you interpret the fact that he was possibly trying to clear it out. I think some people have brought that up as well. But even with that, Matanovic hitting the ball slightly, and when I say slightly, I mean I literally had to go frame by frame by frame, seeing if this ball took any little touch, any little change. I just see it like that. Like, honestly, it's not clear and obvious at all. You really got to go frame by frame. And I've heard some people obviously say that VAR has been labeled as something that's only used for clear and obvious decisions, and that them doing this much framework, this much details and technology to see did they touch it by this much, whatever the case, then it gets ruled out. Like, it's essentially frames are going off of, not real time plays or anything like that. And I understand that. I understand that this is the thing with football technology, or just sports technology in general, is that it gets to the point where there's no room for error. There's no room for, minute little wormholes, right? What's done is done. It's only perfection, right? Or close to perfection. Obviously, this stuff's still developing, and this is the first World Cup we're having this kind of, ball technology and these offside figures and stuff like that. It's very descriptive, right? And VAR, once again, people pointing out that it's only meant for the clear and obvious things. This was not clear and obvious. This was ruled a goal. They would have had to really have something concrete to say he touched the ball, he's in an offside position. None of that, right? In this case, they, again, went to the absolute depths to get to the bottom of this, which, again, I completely understand why you might be up against this and why you feel like that itself, and whether it's the VAR or even the rule itself, because I think the rule itself is kind of dumb. A rule like that, right, should absolutely be up to interpretation, right? Yes, I understand the ball takes a touch off of him according to the technology, but when you look at it in general, again, I talked about this yesterday with the Florian Balogun challenge and how that play should have been looked at with real-time context, real-time replays. This should have been the same thing. When you look at the context of this and how much Matanovic's head-on, or whatever the case, how much of an effect that had on Perisic's ball, it really didn't have any. And again, as much as I was rooting for Portugal in this, I completely understand why Croatian fans, or even anyone from the other side, feels like this was a very harsh and very hard done decision to the benefit of Portugal. I completely get it. And I think, again, going forward, I think with these VAR things, again, it's all about perfection. But at the same time, that's not what this was necessarily meant for. This was obviously meant for fixing the clear and obvious mistakes. This is not a clear and obvious mistake. No one could have seen this. You need people in a lab. People in a lab are responsible for this decision. Not the referees, not even VAR itself. The only reason why this was called the way it is because of people in a lab making these sensors, making these stuff, going the extra mile for things that, when else are you really going to see something like this happen? Honestly, man, this is where I think some of this technology stuff has gone a bit too far. In this case, I really think it's gone too far. I think we could do without it. Again, when you look at the play itself, whether Matanovic touches it or not, he did say after the game that he did feel a little bit on his hair and asked the referee about it, and he said, well, it's offside. I'm not going to dispute it. Fair play for him for having that kind of attitude. But regardless, in a play like that, again, clear and obvious. Does Matanovic's little touch on the ball, whatever little it is, had an effect on the ball itself? Does it clearly change the direction? Does it clearly, stop Vega or the Portuguese defenders behind him from getting to that? I don't think it does. And that's what really makes it pretty unfair. I do feel for Croatia. I obviously do feel for Luka Modric that his last moments of quite possibly his last game ever, let alone at the World Cup, let alone for Croatia, this is potentially it for him. For it to end like that, just complete heartbreak, complete anguish, and yeah, their World Cup ends from there. Portugal, once again, as I said in the beginning, they got out of this one by the skin of their teeth. Croatia were really taking it to Portugal. They were outplaying them for especially a lot of the second half. Extra time would have obviously just been incredible. Who knows what would have happened from there, especially Portugal still without the likes of Ronaldo and Vitinha and Bruno Fernandes. By the way, Vitinha and Bruno Fernandes, you lot got to wake up, man. You lot absolutely have to wake up. This is the third game now of the 4 games that Portugal played where they've had next to no effect on the game. Bruno Fernandes had a good chance early in the first half, kind of like he did in the Colombia game. But aside from that, he did nothing, man. He did nothing. And again, people are going to say Ronaldo this, Ronaldo that. Where's Bruno Fernandes, man? This guy had the most assists in the Premier League this year. Where the hell has he been? Vitinha's been on a team that's won back-to-back Champions Leagues, been the leader of that midfield. Where the hell has he been? Don't let these ratings deceive you, right? About, oh, they're completing passes. Oh, they're doing this and that. These guys, man. You're talking about Ronaldo slowing this team down at 40 years old. Those guys, man, they slow everything down for Portugal, man. They get nothing going. You're telling me Croatia, one of the oldest teams of this tournament, looked a lot of points faster than Portugal. That just can't happen, man. Once again, more questions than answers I have for Portugal, and they've got their toughest test yet against Spain in the next round. That game, they got to get things right, man. Fernandes got to show up. Vitinha's got to show up. Everyone's got to show up for that, because otherwise, Spain will make them pay easily. But yeah, other than that, one of the craziest knockout games I've ever seen, but obviously it's a shame that it ended the way that it did. And again, commiserations to Croatia. We'll obviously see where they go from there. It's going to be the dawn of a new era. The Modric era has come to an end. It's all about what comes next. And for Portugal, the Cristiano Ronaldo era lives on for another game. And speaking of another game, we still have one more left of today. We stay in Canada, this time going all the way to Vancouver for Switzerland against Algeria. Switzerland obviously coming off the back of beating Canada in their previous game, denying them of a chance to stay at home for the knockout stages. They now get the benefit of doing that as they host Algeria, a team that, like Austria that I mentioned, saved their knockout hopes in that last game with just the most ridiculous circumstances. Riyad Mahrez stepping up in that one. And fortunately for them, they get the benefit of not playing Spain. But at the same time, Switzerland are still very, very dangerous. Even though at times they do struggle with putting the ball in the back of the net, they really haven't been that way in the last 2 games. Yohan Manzambi in particular has been an absolute revelation for them. And today was absolutely no different. 10 minutes in, Manzambi running down the wing. He finds Briel and Bolo. Switzerland just wastes no time on getting things going. They already have the 1-0 lead. And then right at the start of the second half, Algeria just completely lapsing in concentration. That Ndoye gets through. That's 2-0. And there's pretty much no way back for Algeria there. They were just pretty off of it. Just like what I said about Ecuador the other day, this team, from what it looked like, used all of their juice in that last Austria game. They just had nothing left for this one. Riyad Mahrez could not get anything going. He ended up getting subbed off early on, and again, no real way back for Algeria. The other thing that I want to talk about from this one is that chant. I think you all know which one I'm talking about. Fabian Ryder. How do you miss that? I have no idea what was going through his head during that, right? Like, you got a whole net to yourself, man. You got the whole left side. Like, was that even a shot? I'm sitting there thinking he must have thought that there was someone there. He must have tried to pass it, because there's no way you have all that space on the net and you just put it right in front of the goalkeeper. Like, what? I couldn't believe that. I mean, obviously, in the end, it didn't really matter. But hey, if you remember the Belgium-Senegal game from the other day, there was a part of me that was thinking, what if this comes back to bite Switzerland? In the end, obviously, that wasn't the case. Algeria, again, they just had nothing left in the tank. Switzerland, unlike Senegal, hold on to this 2-0 advantage, and they go through to the next round. And Switzerland are honestly in a really good position to make a deep enough run in this World Cup. They're playing the winners of Colombia and Ghana next, a matchup that seems pretty winnable, in all honesty. And coming from where they came from heading into this tournament, where things were looking a little bit iffy, especially in that Qatar game, they really managed to turn it around these last couple of games. They have looked really, really good. And with that win also, that marks their first knockout win since 1938. I couldn't believe that stat when I heard it, man. You're telling me a team like Switzerland has not won a knockout game since before World War II? That is just unreal. And again, surprising considering the fact that over the last, 10, 15 years, if not more than that, Switzerland have been one of the most consistently performing national teams. They made 6 straight World Cups. That's up there with some of the big nations in the world. They've been a mainstay in both European football and even international football as well. They're a team that you can always expect them to be dangerous. You always expect them to make it out of their groups and perform well. And that's no different in this World Cup either. But again, first knockout win in 88 years. Fair play to them for getting it done. Also a bit of a symbolic matchup as well, because obviously Murat Yakin, he's been the one to take over Switzerland for the last couple of years and obviously leading to this stage. they went up against their former manager, Vladimir Petkovic. He took over after the 2014 World Cup until 2021. He was the real game changer as far as really guiding the Switzerland team to being one of the most consistently performing national teams in Europe and in the world. So again, cool to see those two sides pairing together. Petkovic obviously being the one to start. In fact, I think Murat Yakin, they said he was like an intern for him, started off as that. Now he's obviously their main man, leading them to the stage. So well done to Switzerland, man, getting things done. And we'll see, man. Again, Colombia and Ghana next seems pretty winnable, considering what they've proven in this tournament and some of their danger guys as well. The likes of, again, Ndoye, Manzabi, Vargas, even though he wasn't at his best today, still an absolute danger man like we've seen throughout this tournament. Switzerland are not a team to be messed with, man. They're absolutely not a team to play around with. When they get things going, when they can score goals, it's pretty tough to beat them, even in the back as well, with the likes of Kubel and Akanji defending as well. Those guys got their first clean sheet of the tournament. Nothing bad to say about Switzerland from this performance. And that is going to be it for this day of the World Cup. We got one more day of round of 32 action before we all go back to the top for the round of 16. I'm just so looking forward to that already, man. I cannot wait to see how all these things play out, all these matchups. It's going to be absolutely wild. This is already an absolute blast, man. This knockout stage has been crazy, and we're not even at necessarily the main part of it yet. And I say main part is usually the ones that we've seen from previous years where it always starts in round of 16. So yeah, tons more to come. Absolutely looking forward to it. Once again, thanks for watching and thanks for all the support. Make sure to like and subscribe for daily World Cup content. And while I was right yesterday about my prediction about Portugal beating Croatia, so let me just throw out another crazy one out there. Cape Verde's going to push Argentina to extra time. Seems good enough. I'm not saying they'll win, but hopefully Vizinha and co can produce another masterclass just like they did against Spain. Let's play football.